Today, we're discussing the biggest hacker attack in history, carried out by a man determined to uncover what the American military and NASA were hiding. Hacking into 97 NASA and military computers undetected for 13 months, disabling 2,000 U.S. Army systems and disrupting the ammunition logistics of the entire Atlantic Fleet. And all of this was done by one man, Gary McKinnon, known in the hacking world as Solo. Hey everyone, and welcome to Realm of Secrets. Today's story fits perfectly into the believe it or not category, and it might just be one of the most unbelievable stories we've shared on this channel so far. Why is this story so fascinating? Well, maybe because our main character managed to surf NASA and US military computers undetected for 13 months, searching for information many would call conspiracy theories. Gary McKinnon was just like us, surfing the internet late at night, searching for answers to the biggest lies told by the US government and military. But he didn't stop there. He took things much further, deciding to discover firsthand everything that intrigued him, from secret technologies and the universe to possible evidence of aliens and more. And if what he later revealed to the public is true, it only confirms what many of us have suspected, with one major difference. Whatever you expect from this story, it's far bigger than that. By day, Gary McKinnon was a system administrator. By night, his mind was consumed by space, conspiracy theories, and the possibility of alien life. Everything changed one day after he connected with the Disclosure Project, led by Dr. Stephen Greer. For those who don't know, the Disclosure Project is an organization that has been working for years to prove the existence of extraterrestrials. If you're interested, it's definitely worth checking out. So what Gary did next will blow your mind. For over a year, from February 2001 to March 2002, he moved undetected through military and NASA systems, searching for UFO evidence, secret tech, and mysteries beyond imagination. For conspiracy theorists who believe NASA fakes its videos and photos, Gary McKinnon's discovery was a goldmine. At the heart of the Johnson Space Center lies the so-called Building 8, a secret NASA department where every photo and video is reviewed, edited, and cleaned before being released to the public. What gets removed? Unexplained anomalies, UFOs, strange artifacts, and more. According to McKinnon, that department is extremely busy. His claims were later supported by Donna Hare, a former NASA employee who worked in that very department, and eventually came forward with her testimony. Furthermore, hidden among endless bureaucratic files, Gary stumbled upon something incredible: thousands of high-resolution images. According to him, many of them showed unidentified flying objects. But that's only the beginning. If you think this is the whole story, you're not even close. Allegedly, among the files Gary found were documents detailing contact with extraterrestrial races. These beings, according to the records, reached out to the American government back in the 1960s, offering to help guide the development of humanity. Why? Because they were reportedly concerned about the direction our civilization was heading. Coincidence or not, around the same time, global talks on banning nuclear testing began to intensify. And just a few years later, in 1963, the Partial Test Ban Treaty was signed, restricting tests to underground only. It's worth noting, the documents Gary accessed only mentioned the American side. But over the years, other whistleblowers have claimed that all the world's major powers were contacted too. So get this, after supposedly rejecting the extraterrestrial offer, the US government didn't just walk away. They interpreted the encounter as a potential warning. And what did they do? Fearing retaliation, they pumped billions into building a shadow space force designed to counter an extraterrestrial invasion. Yes, you heard that right. To counter an extraterrestrial invasion. Now you might be wondering, how could humanity possibly defend itself against a race far more advanced than our own? Well, the answer might lie in what came next. In 1947, the Roswell incident in New Mexico, the alleged crash of an alien spacecraft, became one of the most well-known cases in UFO history, but it's far from the only one. According to claims, the US military recovered advanced technology from the site and through reverse engineering, achieved remarkable developments in the years that followed. Which brings us to something called Solar Warden. Ever heard of it? You might want to Google that later, because Gary McKinnon, while hacking into US military networks, allegedly discovered files referring to unearthly officers. Like literally a list of 20 names. Officers, different ranks, not for Earth. At first, McKinnon assumed these non-terrestrial officers were just astronauts with military ranks. Logical, right? But nope, he couldn't find a single match. What he did find, though, was a list of ships tied to these mysterious officers, and this is where it gets even weirder. Two of the names jumped out: the USS Hillenkoetter and the USS Curtis LeMay. He searched extensively online, but couldn't find any US Navy ships bearing those names. Why? Perhaps because these aren't vessels that sail Earth's oceans. It may sound incredible, and it is, but these are the claims of hacker Gary McKinnon. And then, among countless files, he stumbled upon something astonishing. A high-resolution image of one of these ships, hovering over the northern hemisphere of Earth. To be clear, this was not a ship on the ocean, but a vessel in space, silently watching from above. So, apparently, the Solar Warden program kicked off in the 80s, run by the US military. They supposedly have 8 big ships like the ones Gary found, plus over 40 smaller craft for spying and transport, all capable of flying through space. The image you're seeing is a reconstruction of Gary McKinnon's vision of the ship USS Hillenkoetter. To give you perspective, compare it to the USS Gerald Ford, a regular aircraft carrier measuring about 2 football fields in length. This ship, if that's even the right word, is reportedly a spacecraft with a crew of 476 people, and it allegedly cost $24.3 billion to build, with construction completed in 1988. For more details, take a closer look at the data shown in the picture. During his hacking, Gary also uncovered evidence of advanced technologies like anti-gravity drives and zero-point energy, a form of free energy Nikola Tesla supposedly worked on. He found documents confirming these technologies exist, but are kept hidden from the public and funded through secret black funds. Of course, I can't take all of this at face value, but there are some compelling details that suggest the story might contain some elements of truth. Gary McKinnon had 13 months of uninterrupted access to classified US military data before he was finally caught. According to him, it wasn't advanced tracking or cyber forensics that exposed him, but simple laziness and carelessness. Over time, he let his guard down, believing he was untouchable. After all, as he said, their security was terrible. Now, I don't know if their security was really that bad, or was McKinnon just that skilled, but even the US government later admitted he left taunting messages on their servers, including, "Your security is crap." And here's one more shocking part. Suspecting the US was secretly funding global terrorism, McKinnon, operating under the alias Solo, allegedly crashed nearly 2,000 Navy computers in a single day. The result? The entire logistical operations of the US Atlantic Fleet were frozen for 24 hours. Back in 2002, a British cybercrime agency busted into McKinnon's apartment and took everything. His gear, files, all of it. And here's the part that makes you raise an eyebrow. The US and the UK are basically the closest allies on Earth. Militarily, economically, in terms of intelligence, you name it. And yet, a legal battle began. The US government immediately demanded his extradition. And let's be honest, if Gary McKinnon were just some random hacker, irrelevant and unimportant, he would have been on the first plane to America, quietly swept away, forgotten. But not Gary. For 10 years, the United Kingdom refused to extradite him. A full decade of court hearings, appeals, and political standoffs. Why? Why protect him so fiercely if his claims were nonsense? Maybe, just maybe, The information he uncovered by hacking into US military and space agency databases was more valuable than they ever admitted. And here's what makes it even more remarkable. Despite being threatened with life imprisonment, McKinnon never changed his story. Not once. The same claims, the same details. For years. No contradictions, no inconsistencies. If this was all a fabrication, wouldn't he have cracked by now? Changed a detail here or there? But no, he stood by every word. Some probably wonder why he didn't publish the images to prove his story. But like many other brilliant minds, Gary suffers from Asperger's syndrome, a form of autism that often manifests as obsessive focus on a single goal. In other words, he didn't hack NASA for public attention or to expose secrets for us. He did it for himself. He was deeply curious and simply needed to know. Whether you believe this story or not, certain parts truly make you stop and think. But what we do know for sure is that it remains the largest solo hack into a nation's military system in history, carried out by one man, at a time when much of the world didn't even know what the internet was. In October 2012, UK Home Secretary Theresa May officially blocked his extradition, and to this day, no one really knows what role Gary McKinnon may now have in British intelligence, or whether he's secretly working for them. And now, we close this video with an excerpt from a 1987 speech by President Ronald Reagan, delivered during the same period the Solar Warden project is believed to have been completed.
In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our peoples than war and the threat of war?